Hyperia is on the brink of opening and the hype is already through the roof. Hello guys and welcome back to ScrewyLoops. Despite popular belief, I am not dead. I am in fact dying to get on Hyperia right now because just look at it. 236 foot drop, speeds of over 80 miles per hour, and what in Merlin's name is that? Quite literally, the hype is through the roof. Yeah, I could do with fixing that. Hyperia is due to open at Thorpe Park on May 24th as the fastest and tallest roller coaster in the UK. You've got that right. The big one at Blackpool, it's basically Octonauts now. Pathetic. Jokes aside, Hyperia is a big deal because coasters of this scale only come round every 200 years or so in the UK. We're seriously deprived of big coasters. This ain't no America! Which actually reminds me, I saw this post on Twitter from the Drunk Riders podcast. The absolute audacity. They're actually really cool guys, check them out, awesome podcast. So these guys are from the States and this post sure rattled some feathers, let's say that. Overhyping of this drop is out of control. That's going to be just like a Skyrocket 2 drop, 100%. Now don't get me wrong, I haven't actually been on a Skyrocket 2 coaster. There's one that opened up in Busch Gardens, Tampa, literally a year after I visited the place. You know, looks decent. The vibe I got from this post was that us, particularly the UK theme park Fusey Massive, are seriously overhyping Thorpe's new coaster. And that's why I wanted to make this video. One, because I wanted to share my thoughts on Hyperia ahead of its launch, but also to evaluate the level of hype this coaster is receiving and whether it's actually deserving of it. So Thorpe Park as it stands now has a pretty solid lineup of coasters. You've got your Looper Colossus, your Invert Nemesis Inferno, Stealth, Swarm, Soar, all really good coasters in their own right. But this park is lacking a standout coaster. Sure, you could argue Swarm or Stealth maybe hold that title, but there is nothing that has really made waves in the global sense of things. Apart from the tidal wave, that makes a pretty big ass wave. But I've said it in many previous videos for Thorpe Park, they need a stand-up coaster, or standout coaster even. And with Hyperia, I can genuinely say it has the potential of a worthy headline attraction. Hyperia is unironically a hypercoaster, a coaster that typically rises above 200 feet and provides a lengthy, airtime focused yet simplistic layout, consisting of large drops, hills and bank turns. A stereotypical 9 out of 10 coaster. An exciting, fun, crowd pleaser attraction. Thorpe Park, however, have decided to break conventions with Hyperia, opting for a more intense design and layout that you would expect on something a bit more compact, let's say. The closest coaster I could compare it to is Steel Curtain at Kennywood, consisting of a more inversion-focused layout. There's some pretty funky elements on this coaster, which you could definitely say the same thing for Hyperia. Come on, I can't even describe what that element even is. Hyperia is built by Mack Rides. Not something I initially had on my cards for Thorpe Park. Not until I rode Hypercoaster at Land of Legends anyway. Which is utterly fantastic. Mack Hypers are an entirely different beast. I can see people wanting to compare Hyperia to Icon, but I'm just telling you now, Icon will have nothing on Hyperia. They could have done a B&M Hyper on the lines of Mako, for example, which I would have absolutely loved, but I'm so happy Thorpe Park have took this direction with Mack Rides. It truly brings something unique into the world of coasters, and believe me, the world needs more Mack Hypers, not B&M Hypers. There's more than enough of those out there. And with Mack Rides comes their Mack Rides trains. And Hyperia's trains are pretty much exactly what I expected, barring that super sleek metallic car design, which honestly, I'm still a bit unsure on. It's not bad, it just looks more like something you'd find on a Dyson Hoover than a multi-million-pound roller coaster. Yup. If you've been on a Mack Thrill coaster, you'll know exactly how comfortable these seats and restraints are. They're top of the game at this, and Hyperia continues to sport those spacious bucket seats and lap bars, like sitting in a rubber cloud. Beautiful. We have each car in a 2x2 formation, with the train composed of 5 cars. I believe the other Mack Hypers consist of 6 cars per train, which I'd imagine the 5 cars is purely a design choice. Due to the nature of Hyperia's layout, you know, less chance of exploding at the top of the Immelman perhaps. Either way, I'm a massive fan of these trains, and I know they will get the job done. So unless you've been living under a rock, you will know that Hyperia has been flying around the track these past few weeks. And seeing this testing footage has gave us a great idea of Hyperia's layout and how certain elements will be executed. I'm hearing all of this talk of, oh, it looks slow and particular elements look sluggish. Maybe in the early phases of testing, sure, but all I've seen is a train that's absolutely flying around the track. I think larger coasters generally look slower due to the perception of scale. Hyperia is pushing 80 miles per hour. This is not a slow coaster by any means. Straight away you've got this huge vertical twisted 236-foot drop, which is going to be generating all of that speed over 80 miles per hour, whilst delivering some incredible airtime. That's a given. And on the subject of airtime, Hyperia will allegedly deliver nearly 15 seconds of it, which doesn't sound like a massive number, sure, but from what I'm gathering, that's like 50% of the entire ride cycle, with your bum out your seat. So that's pretty insane if you ask me. At the bottom of this drop, it's going to reach its fastest speed, and I must admit, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the most forceful part of the layout. It's going to pull some serious G's for a sustained amount of time here. Brains are going to pop. That's a joke, don't worry, it's completely safe. Following this is the non-inverting Immelman, a part of the ride I am particularly excited about, especially the peak of this thing. You're going to be pulling all those G's as you enter, then get absolutely yeeted over the top, some serious ejector for sure. Then you've got what is called the outside bank turn, or as I like to call it, what is that? This element is unlike anything I've ever seen on any coaster, ever, in fact. It honestly looks ridiculous and I'm all for it. According to the airtime statistic nonsense, this element will provide the longest stretch of airtime in the layout at a whopping 4.2 seconds of continuous arse out of seat action. Whether it's more ejector or floater, I have no idea. Looks like it could be more floater into hang time to me. Regardless, it's going to be a crazy element unlike anything else out there. Then you got this humongous stall dive loop inversion, which is guaranteed to give some outrageous hang time. Zadra at Energylandia is notorious for its stall element. This could potentially top that for me. It looks insane. And then you've got the final run of elements, consisting of a fake splashdown, which should be visually impressive, and a duo of airtime hills into the brake run, which is sure to provide some nice pumps of airtime too. Overall, I think the layout looks tight. It's a little short, but it seems to be all killer, no filler. Very no-nonsense layout from start to finish. A tidy selection of some ginormous elements. Probably the best way to describe it, I think. So recently Thorpe Park dropped a couple of trailers for Hyperia, which give us more of an insight into the theme and backstory. One trailer they dropped was this kind of awkward looking CGI animation featuring Wonder Woman from Wish. Nah, in all fairness, I do like the vibes it gives off. Whilst it's not exactly pouring out the seams with backstory, it sets the tone nicely for their iconically stylised attraction. The theme definitely feels like a bit of an afterthought, but as long as it's aesthetically pleasing, that's a bloody hard thing to say. Aesthetically pleasing, which from what I've seen of the station and general look of the area, I won't have to call my mum and cry about it. So, the other trailer they've recently dropped is an advert for the good old TV. And you know, this is pretty hype. No idea where our Wonder Woman is though. Just saying. But there's definitely this recurring theme of wings. Is this coaster sponsored by Red Bull? Definitely feel for the office cleaner here. Talk about paperless. Jesus Christ. The advert ends with the motto, "Find your fearless," which segues into our next topic, Fearless Valley, which is apparently the name of this brand new area. I honestly don't have much to say about this. It's just maybe lacking a bit of imagination. But then again, this is the same park with Swarm Island and RIP Angry Birds Land. Heck, we could have ended up with something else irrelevant like Windows Solitaire City or Beehive Bedlam Land. So how much of an impact will Hyperia have on the park and the UK in general? Well, it's the UK's tallest and fastest coaster, and whilst it's not exactly mountains above the big one, size matters. Most people will hear the word tallest and, if they don't run away, they will want to get on this coaster. It's going to give Thorpe Park the standout attraction they need, And the fact that it's not just a copy-paste job, Hyperia will truly stand on its own within the world of roller coasters. Whether it's going to make an impact on their crowds going forward is probably going to be down to the marketing on the grand scheme of things, but maybe word of mouth is going to be enough for Thorpe Park to generate enough interest in Hyperia. So the big question is, do I believe Hyperia is worth the hype? And the simple answer is yeah. And without hyping it up too much, I can see this being many people's top UK coaster, 100%. Better than Nemesis? Maybe so. We shall find out on May 24th. It's going to be an incredible day. Expect a ridiculous queue, maybe some downtime, and a mass gathering of nerds. It's going to be great. Which brings me to the Twitter topic of the episode. Is Hyperia worth the hype? Let's hear what you guys have had to say. Sam Costello, big shout out. It looks incredible for what it is. If it wasn't for the slightly short layout and a lack of theming, I'd be anticipating a world-class attraction. The question is, what is a world-class attraction? What makes a world-class attraction? Because I don't particularly think theming has a massive impact in what makes something world-class. Because if the roller coaster is good enough, I think it can be world class on its own without any theming whatsoever. I mean, look at something like Top Thrill 2, for example. I think that's a world class attraction. It doesn't have, the most extensive theme, and it's a pretty short coaster, all things said. Maybe it varies from ride type to ride type, but again, with Hyperia, I feel like maybe we need to find out on the day how it compares to the other Mack Hypers out there and other hypercoasters in the world. I think that'll surely give us an indication of whether it's world class or not. Jack, big shout out to you. Definitely looks like the best layout in the UK, and visually looks good, but the lack of theming and the short ride duration are slightly detracting from my hype. Best layout in the UK, that is a pretty bold statement, I must admit. Considering the UK doesn't have the biggest coasters in the world, I think a lot of time and effort is put more into the layouts to make them more exciting. I think a good example of a recent effort of a good layout is probably the Smiler. Whether Hyperia will top the Smiler's layout, because the Smiler's layout is pretty insane. There's nothing like it in the world. We'll find out. I do think though Hyperia's layout does look very solid, if a bit short as people have said, but quality over quantity at the end of the day. Big shout out to Hattie. She says, extremely excited for Hyperia, followed the construction and visited weekly to watch it go up. It'll be the best coaster in the UK and one of the best in the world. My BF is going to be one of the first operators on it. So proud of him and so excited for opening. One of the best in the world? Definitely the best in the UK. I think it's pretty damn sure got a shot at that. But one of the best in the world? Wow. I'd say maybe if you compiled 100 of the best coasters in the world, I think it would be maybe in the better half of that, the top 50 maybe. I don't know, I can't see busting any top 10s on a worldwide scale, but definitely in terms of the UK, this is going to be right up there, without a doubt. Also, a big shout out to Kai on being an operator for Hyperia. That is awesome. Hopefully see you around. Corvus, big shout out. With how Mack Rides have been progressing over the last few years, this will easily be one of their best, and probably everyone's favourite in the UK. Although it will have a tough time topping Nemesis for me. I think ever since maybe Icon, Mack Rides have really raised the bar. Not saying Icon's bad by any means, it's a good coaster, but I think Mack Rides up until Icon were playing it quite safe with how far they can push the intensity of their coasters and what they can do. But since Icon, we've seen, some crazy Mack Rides. The DC Rivals Hyper Coaster, I don't know if that come after Icon or before, but that is insane. You've got Ride to Happiness, Voltron. Yeah, Mack Rides are doing really, really well at the moment, and they're really pushing the bar. And I think they are the ones to watch at the moment. Definitely up there with Intamin, Tacoma, B&M. Mack Rides are doing really well, so I'm very excited about what Hyperia is going to ride like. Laszlo, big shout out. Hopefully I'm not too late to weigh in. Lol. No, you're just in time. 21 hours in time, in fact. That's well done. I really wish the actual scenery around the ride was better, because the backstory for this coaster is great and I love the overall theme they've gone for. As for the coaster itself, probably going to be the best in the UK, no questions. I don't think this isn't particularly a themed attraction, more like a stylised attraction. You know, a lot of people say Icon is a stylised attraction. In fact, I'd go as far to say Icon probably actually has the better theming, which is crazy. It's Blackpool Pleasure Beach is a park not exactly known for theming outside of like Valhalla and a few other rides. But yeah, Hyperia, it looks nice, it looks pleasant. The backstory, I'm not really sure. I've seen that CGI trailer with Wonder Woman and her wings. You know, I like the idea of it, I like the vibes it gives. But yeah, it's not oozing with backstory in the way the Smiler or Nemesis or, you know, any of those kind of rides have. So guys, hope you've enjoyed this little chit chat about Hyperia. Are you hyped for this coaster? Let us know in the comments below. And if not, stop crying over Logger's Leap, you flying fish. The 13th ScrewyLoops Hall of Legends legend is Sam Costello, an absolute fantastic guy, although his bolognese is past a joke. That was terrible. Big shout out to Sam, he's got a great sense of humour and excellent content too. Make sure to check his channel out, link in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, smash subscribe for more content like this, and give the bell a flick to keep all up to date. Videos on the left, merchandise on the right. Make sure to hit this button for the ride of your life. You've been watching ScrewyLoops. Draw a bit.